trees and devotees. My brain is pretty numb, so you have to be a little kind upon me this evening. Today is Saturday, and on Thursday we discussed the Damodara Lila because it was Diwali on Thursday. And today's Saturday because Friday was Govardhan Puja, and this evening is the deliverance of Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. Here's the last slide that we saw on Thursday evening. By his very nature, Krishna is self-satisfied. Atma Rama. Yet he suffers from hunger. He is apta kama, or he automatically fulfills all of his desires, yet he is dissatisfied and desirous of prema. Though Krishna is the personification of peace and pure goodness, he becomes angry. Krishna is the master of the goddess of fortune, yet he steals butter like a beggar. Though Krishna instills fear in all through time and death, he flees in fear of Mother Yashoda's stick. Though Krishna travels at the speed of the mind, he is easily caught by the firm grip of his mother. Though Krishna is condensed bliss, Shadrananda, he cries in sorrow. Though Krishna is unlimited and all-pervading, he is limited by being tied up. Those are contradictions. There's this wonderful section of Bhagavad Sandarbha, where Jiva Goswami explains how it is that Krishna is the resolution of all apparent contradictions. Within Krishna is everything, so everything is this and that. So within Krishna is this, and within Krishna is that. And it's a very nice explanation. In all these incidents, Krishna was directly revealing to Yashoda his innate quality of being controlled by his devotee, Bhakta Vatsala. The reason the Lord's heart is controlled by the devotee is because the devotee is sadhu, devoid of other desires. Therefore, it is appropriate that the Lord has no other desire than to please the devotee. So that's where we ended up yesterday. That's like a little summary of the Damodara Lila. And now we're ready for the next one, the twin Arjuna trees. When the women left, Krishna pretended to cry for a while. Then he became joyful at the prospect of moving the mortar around to many places. Though he was tied up, with great faith, increased by being surrounded by the boys, he played with them while smiling, and moved the mortar bit by bit while they also laughed. He then had them go to the houses of the women and steal butter hanging in pots. But he did not desire to free himself from the mortar by using his hands or any other instrument, because he wanted to enjoy pulling the mortar. Now he just flows from one activity to the next activity to the next activity seamlessly. And now he's going to move into a mood of omniscience as well as all powerfulness by pulling over the trees, although he's a little boy. And he's going to say to the Nala Kuvera Manigriva, All along, I knew all about your story. They told their story. But he said, I already knew. So but the point is that Krishna doesn't become all-knowing. He's all-knowing. He doesn't become God. He's God. Yet the mystery is that even though he's God, or the all-knowing, all-powerful Supreme, he does things for pleasure of himself and his devotees as if he's not. And he enjoys that. More than the godliness, he enjoys the intimacy of loving dealings. Prabhupada gives this very simple example. It's really easy to understand. Supposing there's a high court judge, and in the courtroom it's your honor, yes sir, and all those formalities. And then when he's at home, he's with his family and his children, and they're playing, rolling around on the ground or whatever they do. And which does he enjoy more? Now, there must be something he enjoys about being a high court judge, but the intimate dealings with his family, not everybody can do what family members do with amongst family members. It's confidential kinds of things, but he enjoys. So Krishna is like that. He has this majesty aspect, and he has this very personal aspect. And Vrindavan is his personal place. But he's about to deal now with the sons of Kuvera and a promise made by Narada. While Mother Yashoda was very busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, observed twin trees known as Yamala Arjuna, which were in a former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kuvera. Now, what does a former millennium mean? At least it means, previous yuga. Because Prabhupada uses the word millennium in different ways at different times. But at least it's a different yuga. So lots of time had passed. They're standing there as trees. Lots of time. The two sons of Kuvera had been elevated to the association of Lord Shiva. How did that happen? Because their father, Kuvera, is an intimate devotee of Lord Shiva, so they also had his association, just by being sons. Of which they were very proud. They were allowed to wander in a garden attached to Kailash Hill, on the bank of the Mandakini Ganga. The Mandakini Ganga is one of the tributaries of the Ganga. Mandakini. And it flows along the side of Kailash Hill. Taking advantage of this, they used to drink a kind of liquor called Varuni. Accompanied by women singing after them, they would wander in that garden of flowers, their eyes always rolling in intoxication. In the painting or the drawing, there's Narada coming upon the scene. And here's the BBT artwork of the same. By some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarshi Narada once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated, with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Upon seeing Narada, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments, but the two sons of Kuvera did not do so. Instead, not caring about Narada, they remained naked. They were intoxicated with liquor, and they were intoxicated with pride, both. And doing as they were doing in the presence of Narada shamelessly, this was an offense to Narada. So, supposing you're Narada for a day, what are you going to do if you see something like this? I like this section very much. It's a section where we're getting a picture of Narada's contemplations. We're going inside his mind, inside his heart, and what's he thinking and feeling. Among the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. When one is uneducated, but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. And this statement we just read is the conclusion of the whole section. So, you two girls over there, you know Queen Kunti is, right? You familiar with Queen Kunti's prayers? A little bit? You know the circumstance? Krishna was about to leave Hastinapur and go back to Dwarka because the Kurukshetra battle was over. Yudhisthira had become the king. They requested him to stay. He stayed for some time. Now it's time to go back to Dwarka. So that's when Kunti comes, standing at his chariot, not exactly saying, please don't go, but saying, please don't go. And she offers some prayers. And in one of those prayers, she says, the one who is too much attached to these four things, one cannot feelingly call out for Krishna. And these four things are janma, or good birth, like Janmashtami, janma. Aishvarya means opulence or wealth. Shruta means education, Shruta. And beauty, Shri. So, good birth, wealth, good education, and beauty. One who has those four things, it's easy to become proud of any one of those four things. Here Narada is saying of the four, the one that's most detrimental is being proud because of one's wealth. Because even a poor person, an uneducated person that has wealth, they indulge themselves. And that's what goes on in the world. That's what goes on. Prabhupada's purport says, saintly persons think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? So Narada is considering, this is the root of their problem is pride. The cause of their pride is their birth as sons of Kuvera, their good education because of being residents in the heavenly planets, but most importantly, because of their wealth. So they should be deprived of these things that give them pride for their own good. Not punishment, but for their good. These two young men, Kuvara and Manigriva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Kuvera, but because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked but cannot understand that they are. Therefore, because they are living like trees, that is, trees stand naked too, but they're not so conscious. Same, these two men should receive the bodies of trees. That will be proper punishment. Nonetheless, after they become trees, and until they are released. By my mercy, they will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. It's not the same, but it's something like Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was able to remember his past life. Now, what would it be like standing as a tree and you remember your past life? What was the cause of your standing as a tree? Because of sins. Pretty hard lesson, isn't it? I mean, mostly people don't remember because it's who can remember things like that? Who would like to remember? Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years, by the measurement of the demigods, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality Godhead, Vasudeva, that's Krishna, face to face, and thus revive their real position as devotees. So what's 100 celestial years? Let's do it this way. What's one day on the heavenly planets? One day on the heavenly planets is 6 months in the earthly realm, and their night is of equal duration. So 1 year here is 1 day and night there. So you just start doing some math. 30 of those days in each month, and 12 months per year, and 100 years. That's a lot of zeros after it's a big number. Standing as trees, remembering their sinful activities from their previous life. But Krishna, by his arrangement, not by Narada, but by his promise, and Krishna upholding the word of his devotees, they're delivered. And we know the story. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, to fulfill the truthfulness of the words of the great devotee Narada, slowly went to that spot where the twin Arjuna trees were standing. Now these are just little drawings or cartoonish looking pictures. There's the wooden grinding mortar. There's the two trees on the left, and on the right side they crashed, being pulled over by the mortar. Krishna continued thinking, Narada, although these two young men are the sons of a very rich Kuvera, and I have nothing to do with them, this is Krishna, Devarshi Narada is my very dear and affectionate devotee, and therefore because he wanted me to come face to face with them, I must do so for their deliverance. So we see the grinding mortar caught between the two trees. That was his plan. Having thus spoken, Krishna soon entered between the two Arjuna trees, and thus the big mortar to which he was bound turned clockwise and stuck between them. But more than stuck, he pulled them. The root structure, Dinabandhu was explaining this. The root structure of Arjuna trees is very unique. It's very, very, very deep root structure. And it's hardwood, like oak is hardwood. So the two combined, it's really hard to pull over a Arjuna tree compared to any other tree. Any tree is hard, but particularly hard is this kind of tree. By dragging behind him with great force, the wooden mortar tied to his belly, the boy Krishna uprooted the two trees. By the great strength of the Supreme Person, the two trees, with their trunks, leaves, and branches, trembled severely and fell to the ground with a great crash. That's a nice BBT painting here. We see the twin Arjuna trees being knocked over by the mortar, and we see now the Kuvera and Manigriva emerge like a flash of light from the tree. Hearing the fearful sound of the falling trees, the inhabitants remained in an unconscious state for a muhurta. How long is a muhurta? Who knows? One muhurta? 48 minutes. 48 minutes. 48 minutes. Do you know when is the Brahma Muhurta? It's 48 plus 48, so 96. It starts 96 minutes before the sun rises, and it lasts for 48 minutes. So when you know that you have one of these new watches that tells you when the sun rises, you can know exactly when Brahma Muhurta begins, and then it ends, and then it's Shiva Muhurta after, for the next 48 minutes, and then the sunrise. It's just a measure of time. There's so many muhurtas per day, etc. Only the boys around Krishna did not faint. Everybody else fainted. The crash was so loud. Experiencing the extreme sweetness of his pastimes, the boys, they did not become frightened and just remained immobile, like painted pictures. It's a nice image. They were stunned, appreciating and stunned. Thereafter, in that very place where the twin Arjuna trees had fallen, two great, perfect personalities who appeared like fire personified came out of the two trees. The effulgence of their beauty illuminated all directions. With bowed heads, they offered obeisances to Krishna, and with folded hands, they spoke the following words. Now this is a painting that doesn't show anybody else around. It's just the trees fallen over, the wood and mortar, and the two sons of Kuvera. Now, but let us remember that little boys were also surrounding him. Oh, Lord Krishna, your opulent mysticism is inconceivable. You are the supreme original person, the cause of all causes, immediate and remote, and you are beyond this material creation. Learned Brahmanas know, on the basis of Vedic statement, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, that you are everything, and that this cosmic manifestation, in its gross and subtle aspects, is your form. Now that's in the oneness part of the oneness and difference part of Lord Chaitanya's teaching. O Lord, you exist before the creation. Therefore, who, trapped by a body of material qualities in this material world, can understand you? Now that's very similar to Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 10, the first part of chapter 10, Krishna says explicitly, nobody understands me. And why they don't understand is because Krishna existed before they existed, at least their embodiment feature. So they can't know, how can you know what existed before you existed? There's one way you can know, and that's by disclosure from what existed before you existed. Then you can know. Like the classic, how do you know who your father is? You ask your mother. And if your mother doesn't tell the truth, then you're not going to know, because she's the one that knows. So, as mother knows who father is, although mother and father existed before you existed, the Vedas tell who is existing before we're existing. And so who without this resource of the Vedas can know Krishna? Not possible. O Lord, whose glories are covered by your own energy, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are Sankarshan, the origin of creation. You are Vasudeva, the origin of the Chaturvyuha. Because you are everything and are therefore the Supreme Brahman, we simply offer our respectful obeisances to you. This is one of those paintings where it's on the telling several parts of a story all in one painting. And the bottom is just when Krishna starts to play with his friends. And then at the top, the twin Arjuna trees have already been pulled over. And those that they're with the helmets on the far right, that's the two demigods. And then on the left, that's the queens and Nanda. Now it looks like Nanda's holding baby Krishna, and then in the middle is Krishna. And then the bottom is Krishna. There's three Krishnas in this painting. Another painting that's like that, there's the two trees, Krishna pulling the grinding mortar, the twin Arjunas, the two sons of Kuvera coming out, and then the ladies hearing a big crash, wondering what was that. Appearing in bodies like those of an ordinary fish, tortoise, hog, similar in Kunti's prayers, very similar in Kunti's prayers. You exhibit activities impossible for such creatures to perform. Extraordinary, incomparable, transcendental activities of unlimited power and strength. These bodies of yours, therefore, are not made of material elements, but are incarnations of your Supreme Personality. You are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead who have now appeared with full potency for the benefit of all living entities within this material world. So they're highly enlightened, isn't it? Like the wives of the Kaliya serpent, they knew their Vedic texts. They knew who the Supreme Lord was. They knew that's who they were addressing. So very quickly they're desiring to return to the spirit, to the heavenly realm. There they are, coming out of the tree. O Supreme Form, we're always servants of your servants, especially Narada Muni. Now give us permission to leave for our home. It is by the grace and mercy of Narada Muni that we have been able to see you face to face. Now remember, it's a whole yuga has passed, at least that much time. They've just been standing there, but they're still feeling themselves very fortunate. Narada cursed them, but Narada is giving them this opportunity to see Krishna. Krishna's thinking, they are praising me for freeing them from bondage, but Mother Yashoda binds me up and scolds me instead of praising me. Still out of love, I stay in Gokula. The chastisements of the Brijbasis please me much more than the praises I am receiving from these sons of Kuvera. It's a Braja Prema lesson. Now one has to be qualified to manifest properly and genuinely and authentically the love of the residents of Vrindavan. And that's the teaching of Lord Chaitanya given to us through Rupa Goswami, through the process of bhakti, and specifically Raga Nuga Bhakti, specifically following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. That's our method. And Krishna enjoys that more than the hymns of the Vedas or the praises of sons of Kuvera, etc. He likes that even more. When Brahma offers all of his prayers, Krishna doesn't even answer. He wants to go have lunch with the cowherd boyfriends. He appreciates, of course, but the quality and intensity of his appreciation goes especially to the intensity and intimacy of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. The two young demigods thus offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the master of all, and was certainly Gokuleshwara, the master of Gokula. He was bound to the wood and mortar by the ropes of the gopis, and therefore smiling widely, he spoke to the sons of Kuvera the following words. Remember, he's saying these words tied to the grinding mortar. It's really astounding. And there's cowherd boys watching. The adults have fainted, so it's just little boys watching and hearing. The great Saint Narada Muni is very merciful. By his curse he showed the greatest favor to both of you, who are mad after material opulence, and who had thus become blind. Although you fell from the highest planet Svargaloka and became trees, you are most favored by him. I knew of all these incidents from the very beginning. He's speaking with omniscience. He's the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the drawing on the left, the two look pretty big, and Krishna looks pretty small. Or another one, I like this painting or drawing. It's pulling over the two trees. And there it shows Mother Yashoda at the doorway. Ah! But she didn't see. She heard the crash of the tree. And he's speaking on the right side, speaking directly to them. When one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness for one's eyes. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee, who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. So Krishna is delivering, and those who are agents or representatives of Krishna, instruments of Krishna, they're also on his behalf delivering. But it's Krishna delivering, because they're no longer subject to material bondage. Fully dedicated, fully surrendered, fully absorbed. As you can see, there's many drawings and paintings of this pastime. Oh, Nala Kuvara and Manigriva, now you may both return home. Listen to this, since you desire to be always absorbed in my devotional service, your desire to develop love and affection for me will be fulfilled, and now you will never fall from that platform. Now, our Acharyas comment, if they have reached that stage of Krishna consciousness, why didn't they ask to go back to Godhead? And the answer our Acharyas give is, they were wanting to go back to the heavenly realm and preach Krishna consciousness in the heavenly realm. Because in the heavenly realm, people are not so much absorbed in Krishna consciousness, they're absorbed in enjoying their opulences. And in enjoying of opulences, there's forgetfulness. One follows the other. The Vrajavasis, now the adults come. The Vrajavasis saw the fallen Yamala Arjun trees on the ground, but they were bewildered, because even though they could directly perceive that the trees had fallen, they could not trace out the cause of their having done so. Look at in the drawing, they're holding their heads, ladies. How did this happen? How did this happen? Krishna was bound by the rope to the utkala, the mortar, which he was dragging. But how could he have pulled down the trees? Who has actually done it? When was the source of this? Where was the source of this incident? Considering all these things, astounding things, the cowherd men were doubtful and bewildered. Another nice painting. And the upper part of the painting is the little calf, and the cowherd boys are chasing little calf, and the calf is running towards the Goshal. You see it on the far upper left. And at the bottom, that looks like Balaram pointing to Krishna, and Krishna's kind of like leaning up against the grinding mortar, and there are those two fallen trees. In the lower right corner, there they are, sons of Kuvera. And everyone's looking on astonished, like, what's this? Then all the cowherd boys says, they say exactly what happened. Krishna has done this. When he was in between the two trees, the mortar fell crosswise. Krishna dragged the mortar, and the two trees fell down. After that, two beautiful men came out of the trees. We have seen with our own eyes. Their parents are thinking, yeah. Sure, you saw the trees fall. Okay. They couldn't believe, although that's what happened. Because of intense paternal affection, the cowherd men, headed by Nanda, could not believe that Krishna could have uprooted the trees in such a wonderful way. Therefore, they could not put their faith in the words of the boys. Some of the men, however, were in doubt. Since Krishna was predicted to be equal Narayana, they thought, it might be that he could have done it. And what's the statement that the prediction that Krishna will be equal to Narayana? Who knows the answer to that one? Do either of you two girls know the answer to that one? Krishna being predicted to be equal to Narayana? The name-giving ceremony of Krishna? Ringing any bells yet? Go ahead. During the name-giving ceremony, names were given to match their horoscope. And looking at their horoscope, because he was super astrologer, he understood Krishna was the personality of Godhead. And he didn't want to say that to Nanda Maharaj because it would disturb his love as the father. Hey, your son's the personality of Godhead. Congratulations. So he didn't say that. But he said something close to it. He said, the son of yours will have powers like Narayana, and with those powers he'll give protection to the residents of Vrindavan, so take good care of your son. So now he's delivered Nalakuvar and Manigriva, who were cursed to stand as trees, and now they're guessing, how did this happen? Well, maybe it's possible, what the little boys said, because he had powers like Narayan. Maybe it's true. When Nanda Maharaj saw his son bound with ropes to the wooden mortar and dragging it, he smiled and released Krishna from his bonds. He's a loving father. When the Yamala Arjun trees fell, all the coward men in the neighborhood, hearing the fierce sound and fearing thunderbolts, went to the spot. There you see at the very bottom of the painting, there's Krishna and Balaram, and there's the two trees that fell, and then there's the residents of Vrindavan that came running, children and adults and everybody, to see the situation. Jiva Goswami has a very sweet explanation of what happened next. Nanda Maharaj, who had just come from the market, heard this huge sound. He came running and saw two big trees on the ground, and Krishna in between them, bound by the Utkala. That's the grinding mortar. He went to Krishna and freed him from the ropes, and then took Krishna in his lap and asked him, "Who has done this?" Krishna said, "Yashoda Mai has done this." Mother Yashoda heard the huge sound, and she also came running, and Krishna closed his eyes by the shoulders of Nanda Maharaj. Yashoda came around from the other side, but Krishna would not see her. Mother Yashoda started to cry, but still Krishna would not see her. Nanda Maharaj asked Krishna, "Who will put you to bed at night?" Krishna said, "You, Baba." Then he asked, "Who will wake you up in the morning?" Krishna said, "You, Baba." "Who would make you breakfast?" Krishna said, "You, Baba." "When you will return after herding the cows, then who would bathe you?" Krishna said, "You, Baba." For 6 days, Krishna would not see the face of Mother Yashoda. The eyes of Mother Yashoda became red because of continuous crying. Then news came to Krishna that Mother Yashoda is about to leave her body immediately. Krishna came to the lap of Mother Yashoda. Jiva Goswami. It's not in the Bhagavatam, it's just his appreciation of the pastime. Sweet exchanges with his devotees. Again, one of those paintings that shows so many things in one painting. Yeah. It looks like in the bottom left, that's Krishna's killing of Aghasura. And on the upper one, it's Krishna killing some other demon. It looks like a pussycat, but I don't know. In the upper, that's the calf demon. What's the name of the calf demon? Starts with a V. Vyomasura, right? Vyomasura? Vatsasura? Is that his name? Do you remember? Not sure. It's Vatsasura. Vatsasura is the calf demon. Calf. Calf. I didn't say cat. I didn't say cat demon. Here. C-A-L-F, calf. Let's go, let's do this. There's the calf, that little guy. That's Arishtasura, the bull demon. And I don't know what that one is. Huh? Maybe. That's what it is? Looks a bit like that. It looks like there's fire. Anyway. And then here's they are, little boys. Mother Jasoda and Rohini. So they're back in their little childhood pastimes. Krishna's looking at Mother Yashoda like he did something naughty and expecting to get reprimanded. Oh, then on the right side, Krishna and Balaram with Yashoda. Mother Yashoda embracing him. The gopis would say, "If you dance, my dear Krishna, then I shall give you half a sweetmeat." By saying these words or by clapping their hands, all the gopis encouraged Krishna in different ways. At such times, although he was the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, he would smile and dance according to their desire, as if he were a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. In this way, Krishna completely controlled. Krishna came completely under the control of the gopis. Nice painting. So there you see them hanging around at the edge of that little place where he is. Nanda Maharaj, of course, is there. They're offering him some sweetmeats if he can dance. So he's dancing. Now, just the other day, it may even have been this morning. No, it was the other day. It was on Diwali day. Someone that's in Vrindavan visited this place where the pastime took place, where the Utkal is found. They sent me pictures. So this pastime represents the pride and arrogance coming from the feeling that one has an aristocratic birth and is wealthy. It gives rise to cruelty to animals, lust for women, and indulgence in alcohol. When Narada is considering what is his pride capable of doing, he explains, this is his thinking. When one becomes proud, one can do anything hurtful to others and think nothing of it. And it's that pride mentality that enables people to kill animals and think nothing of it, because they're expendable. They're for my enjoyment, and that's all that really counts. And what other living entities are undergoing is not one of my considerations. Pride. These three things, that is, cruelty to animals, lust for women, indulgence in alcohol, give further rise to debauchery of the tongue, uncontrolled eating habits, and loose talking. Then come general hard-heartedness, shamelessness, and all sorts of disgraceful activities. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing. Lord Krishna very mercifully breaks down the twin Arjuna trees while tied to the grinding mortar in order to destroy all these faults. And here's our last slide. This is commentary by Vishwanath from this chapter, Canto 10, Chapter 10. For a man absorbed in enjoying the attractive objects of the material world, pride in taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned do not destroy the intelligence as much as being intoxicated with wealth. What she's saying is, when you have wealth, it's more debilitating than the others. Being born in an aristocratic family, being very intelligent, it's detrimental in the pride department, but nothing compares to wealth. Because when that pride comes, then intelligence is destroyed. Abhijati. This is Vishwanath again. Birth in a high family generates excessive pride. Dear. Knowledge also gives rise to pride. rajo gunaha. Since pride in wealth arises from the mode of passion, raja guna is mentioned in this verse. Pride in wealth induces one to commit many more sins than pride in family or knowledge. And then the conclusion. Various sins, such as enjoying wine, women, and gambling, are the natural outcome of this contamination of heart. So Krishna is very kind and he helps to destroy such contamination if one is a sincere sadhaka. It's a small if and a big if. So that's our discussion for this evening. It's the sequel to the Damodara Lila. After doing what he does with Mother Jasoda, which we honor for the whole month, he delivers the twin Arjuna trees. He doesn't like pride, and he delivers them. Narada didn't like pride, and he follows his devotee who doesn't like pride. See if there's some discussion.
Thank you, Maharaj. A very fundamental question is coming to my mind, Maharaj, and I'm looking at the word sin here, and I'm thinking of chapter 1 in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna quotes several reasons why he's not doing a particular thing because he thinks that he will incur sin. And I'm just wondering here because it seems that what Nalkuvera and Manigriva did out of pride, in very mundane perspective, looks like they were rude. So I'm thinking, how can I define sin? And what was Arjuna thinking when he was saying that if I do this, I will incur sin?
Well, there's two different situations, and you're mixing the two or toggling back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
Are you clear about what your question is? Because the situations are different. Killing is one thing, and offending a brahmana is another thing.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these two things at the same time because in both the word used has been sin.
Okay.
Arjuna is also saying that if I do fight, I would be incurring sin.
That killing is a sin.
Yeah.
Normally, there for a kshatriya it has an exception, but normally killing is a sin, and so in this case, pride leads to sin.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Maharaj, is there any specific significance of roots of Arjuna tree being like very deep and they being extremely hard?
It's not easy to knock them over. That's what's the significance.
Okay.
So that Krishna knocked over a balsa tree or a bamboo tree is not the same as a Arjuna tree. It's very difficult. And he's a little baby, little toddler.
So that draws that his supreme personality.
It's emphasis. It underlines the significance of the pulling over those two trees.
Yeah. And then, Maharaj, I was curious if there was any other pastime in Vrindavan of relieving from pride, other than we hear that when gopis were thinking, then in pride, then Krishna just disappeared from their sight. Is there any?
Oh, of course. How about Indra?
But like all these devotees are not from Vrindavan realm, so that's why I was curious that in Vrindavan there is no pride probably.
Well, there's transcendental pride. But why Krishna left? Are we saying? Are you saying, or are those commentators saying that Krishna left the gopis because they had material pride?
No.
No, they didn't have material pride, but they were feeling proud, and he was not pleased with that, and he was increasing their attachment for him at the same time.
Maharaj, then I have a little follow-up. That anything transcendental always pleases Krishna, right?
Everything transcendental does what?
Always pleases Krishna. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah, although he may show some displeasure.
Okay, so even if the pride is transcendental, he might show displeasure.
He may show displeasure.
Okay.
I mean, when when there's exchange with the gopis, it's back and forth all the time. They say heavy things, and he says heavy things.
It's a different kind of.
It's transcendental.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's because it's done out of love mutually. But he may speak as if he's angry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. It is about the Arjuna trees, right? So in the tree body, they're remembering their past life, what was their past life. But
Remembering their sins, specifically, that's what it says, because that's part of their past life.
correct, Maharaj. So there I can understand, by remembering their sins and they're living like a tree, they can repent for their faults. Can understand. But the human being who is taking the rebirth, right, because of their past deeds or they did some mistake, they are not remembering it. Then how the punishment works for them?
They're confined. When you're put in jail, you may or may not remember the misdeeds that you did to cause you to be put in jail, but you certainly know the inconvenience when you're put in jail. Now, people are so dull they don't recognize being in jail as an inconvenience, or being in the material world, which is like a jail, is an inconvenience. It's a place for varieties of pleasure. That's how the disposition is so strong. They don't even understand that they're suffering in the way that one who understands it's not necessary understands what unnecessary suffering is. Like, people that are drunk a lot, that's happiness. They're not seeing this is degraded and degrading, and it's the result of bad association, and it's sinful, and they're not seeing like that. It's party time. Okay.
It is from the morning class, Maharaj, like as part of the meditation, right? There was like 3 steps were given. Think about the person in the past whom you're not the situation was not happy, the interaction was not happy, then how
Yeah, I
you
remember.
go by it.
Yeah.
In that line, Maharaj, like after started learning about Bhagavad Gita, and after knowing about Krishna consciousness, and my mind says that like I can open my heart and talk to Krishna conscious people confidently. That it says, but I'm all in the same time I'm also afraid when I'm meeting the worldly people. What I'm thinking is, after hearing so much about Krishna, after hearing Bhagavad Gita, I'm still not good. Like I still make mistake. So what if the other person don't even have knowledge? Then how can I trust that person, or how can I even move well with that person? So I'm little afraid about the dealings. So this is the situation, Maharaj.
You're speaking of interacting with those who are not devotees. Yes?
Yes,
And
Maharaj.
in your interaction with those who are not devotees, you're wondering, gosh, since I have some knowledge and some effort, and I'm filled with impure things and make mistakes and stuff, how can I be trusting of these people that are not even that much? That's the question.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes.
Well, it sounds like that's an intelligent position. That is to say, we are cordial with worldly people, but we also know too much association with worldly people is detrimental for our spiritual well-being. So we're friendly, but we make our best friends, the ones that we open our hearts to and feel close and affectionate with and share confidential things with the devotees. And even amongst the devotees, those who are trustworthy. And there's gradations and, concentric circles out. When we're going out, we should act as Vaishnavas with others that are not Vaishnavas. We act appropriately and respectfully and kindly, and it's not cosmetic. It's it's a natural way. We just don't get too close. Then there's layers of all that statement, meaning there may be people from other persuasions that are very wholesome, and they're not worshiping in the same way or practicing in the same way, but they're very wholesome. They're very sincere, very genuine, and we see that. We're is encouraged to see that and respect that. In addition to their being a part and parcel of Krishna, as are we, they have some genuine dedication to wholesomeness and godliness in their own tradition and their own ways, and we're respectful to them. We have natural affinity for our own teachings and teachers and our process, but we're also respectful of others in a commensurate, proportionate way. But those where there's God-centeredness is absent, we're respectful, but a little distant from the heart level, at least. That answer your question?
One more comment, Maharaj. And I always hear in the classes, like when you speak about Krishna don't like pride. I hear that many times. And I like that also, Maharaj. The reason was like, I could see that when somebody is so much pride, and it leads us to other problems,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
So I like
It's
that.
one of the
Maharaj.
gateways to hell.
Yes, Maharaj. So from that, my learning was like nature. So nature way of living is Krishna consciousness. So the teaching, if you apply it, your way of living also better day by day. That's how I'm taking it,
And
Maharaj.
as your way of living becomes better day by day, beware of pride. Because the credit doesn't go to you. The credit goes to the source of that mercy that has made life better and better each day. It's the difficulty with life getting better and better is the false ego, thinking because I'm good, it's better and better, instead of thinking, it's just causeless mercy. It's getting better and better. We like to take credit, We like to. They like this. We're very conditioned to the "I'm the doer" consciousness. It's insidious. It doesn't go away very quickly. So we don't try to do poorly. We try to do nicely. We try to do well in all that we do, and to whatever degree we can do. Let's like your children, these two children. They try to do well in school, and if it gets into this material competition thing, it just feeds false ego. And even if they do well, they're getting filled with false ego. And if they don't do well, they get really sad and etc. 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 And it goes on, in young people. So how to be successful in what you do, and strive to be, it's the solution is Krishna consciousness, and to beware of pride, and its antidote is humble service and being an instrument of Krishna's will. Somehow. You two have anything you want to share? Okay. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.